Hi everyone, welcome to our first podcast episode. I'm Kassidy, and today our group is breaking down how communication and relationship building happens on dating apps.
I'm Sean. We'll be looking at why people use dating apps, how they communicate on them, and what research tells us about expectations and behaviors online.
I'm Ryan. We're also connecting these ideas to communication theories we've learned in class.
And I'm Joe. We'll explore all of these through peer-reviewed studies to help us understand the relational side of dating apps.
To start, we're looking at uses and gratification theory, which focuses on what needs people try to satisfy when they choose certain media, in this case, dating apps.
A key study here is Cyber Dating in the Age of Mobile Apps, written in 2017 by Bryant and Sheldon. They found that dating apps are used for a wide variety of reasons: entertainment, attention, confidence boosts, curiosity, and both romantic and casual relationships. So already we see that users come in with very different expectations and motivations. I know for myself, I use it for romantic and casual relationship goals, but does anybody here not use it for their intended purpose?
Yeah, I kind of have a funny story. So on Tinder one day, I found this. It was just a nice girl, but things didn't work out with her. But I was able to, meet her family, and me and her brother are still good friends to this day. So I still see her all the time. So it was a good unexpected outcome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
The Sumter Vandenbosch and Lightenberg 2017 article, Love Me Tinder, expands on this. They then found 5 main motivations for emerging adults who use Tinder: looking for love, casual dating or sexual interest, entertainment, boosting self-esteem, and easy communication. These categories highlight how flexible Tinder is and how it can serve people who are looking for totally different things.
Hawkins and Bishop 2025, Dating App Motives in Emerging Adulthood, adds another layer. They compared Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge and found clear differences. Tinder was more casual, socially driven interactions. Bumble focused more on safety and user control. And Hinge tends to attract people who want long-term, serious connections. These apps, the apps themselves influence motivations. People choose the platforms that matches what they want.
Now, do you guys think these apps kind of are all the same, or do you think?
I think they're structured differently depending on their audience. So Tinder is more for casual. Bumble, I think, similarly, but Hinge is probably the most intimate.
Yeah, because you can kind of add those pictures to them, and probably also answer those little Quick questions they have. So I do agree.
There's a bunch of questions on there and stuff. Yeah.
So you can really get to know the person.
Culture plays a major role too. The Solis and Wong 2019 To Meet or Not to Meet article studied dating apps use in China. Users there often wanted romantic or social connections, but many were hesitant to meet in person because of stigma or concern about what others might think.
Meanwhile, in To Swipe or Not to Swipe by Trans and Deep, written in 2025, the article looked at LGBTQ plus young adults in Vietnam. They found that people use dating apps not just for relationships, but also identity exploration, community, and support, especially in environments where those spaces weren't usually available offline. This furthers the point that these apps can be used for multiple purposes around the world.
Combining these, uses and gratifications theory shows that dating apps don't have a single universal purpose. People select them based on their emotional needs, their cultural context, personal identity, and the specific style of norms from each app.
Next, we turn to expectancy violations theory, which focuses on how people react when a message goes against what they might have expected.
A study that really illustrates this is Lilly and Bueller 2023, Online Daters' Reactions to Sexually Explicit Initiation Messages. They compared reactions to traditional first messages with reactions to sexually explicit ones. What's everybody's favorite pickup line?
Personally, my favorite has got to be, "Is your name Chapstick? Because you're the bomb."
I usually go for, "I never believed in love at first sight. Then I saw you."
Guys love the, "If you were a transformer, you'd be Optimus Fine."
My personal favorite is, "You're looking a little sick. You might need some vitamin Me."
It's a good one.
Sorry. Yeah, that was good.
The results showed that explicit messages were usually viewed negatively, especially by women and especially by people looking for more meaningful or long-term relationships. When an opener doesn't match what someone's expecting, it affects their entire perception of that person.
Expectancy violation theory helps explain why first impressions online feel so strong. Without body language or tone of voice, people rely heavily on message style, wording, and even timing. If something feels out of place, too forward, too short, too aggressive, too distant, it immediately stands out.
It also connects to the app culture. So someone might expect more casual communication on Tinder, but expect something more thoughtful on Hinge. The app itself shapes the norms, and violations of those norms can change how the interaction might unfold between two people. People read these norms and almost instantly, even if no one ever explains them distinctly.
So, expectancy violation theory shows us why some conversations feel immediately comfortable, while others feel uncomfortable from the first message. It's not always about the content itself, but it's about how it fits with what the user expected out of that interaction.
Now we can bring everything together by comparing Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, using Hawkins and Bishop's findings in the theories we've discussed. Tinder, often used for more entertainment or casual interactions. Expectations are more relaxed. And quick communication with fast impressions and fast disengagement.
On apps like Bumble, they usually attract users who value safety and have a little bit more structure within them. They also allow women to initiate the conversations, so that may change the dynamic between the two people meeting for the first time if the female is reaching out compared to the male on every other dating app. And then they also had their conversations, honestly, tend to unfold with clearer boundaries. And then when we move over to Hinge, Hinge is designed for more like a long-term relationship oriented for users. Prompts encourage more thoughtful communication, self-disclosure. They'll ask questions like your typical Sunday, or this is what it looks like when I'm doing this, and they can add certain pictures to engage in better conversation. And then the users also tend to expect more depth and consistency between the users on Hinge.
These differences help explain why people might feel more comfortable on one app than another. Communication norms differ based on design, expectations, and the community of users.
And this shows why it's important to choose an app that aligns with your goals, not just because it affects who you meet, but because it also shapes how conversations will go from the start.
One major takeaway is that understanding your motivation makes communication smoother. When people are clear about what they want, they choose the right app and communicate more effectively.
Expectancy violation theory teaches us that expectations shape how messages are interpreted. Knowing the norms of the platform help avoid misunderstandings and make conversations feel more natural.
Social information processing theory and self-disclosure remind us that relationship building takes time. Even if communications feel strong online, pacing and mutual sharing are essential for more sustainable connections.
Together, these insights explain why dating apps can lead to either strong relationships or frustrating experiences. Ultimately, communication patterns and expectations shape how people interact and what outcomes they experience.
Alrighty, well that brings us to the end of today's episode. We covered a lot of ground, and honestly it's pretty fascinating how deeply communication theory helps explain what happens on dating apps. These platforms might feel casual, but everything from our swipes to our messages can be understood through patterns researchers have been identifying for years.
Yeah, for real. We kicked it off with some uses and gratifications, which helped us see why people choose specific apps in the first place. Some people want entertainment, some people want validation, and some even want a genuine connection. And those motivations shape everything: how people present themselves, how they respond to messages, and even which features they use the most.
And then we moved into expectation violation theory. This one's always interesting because it shows how surprising messages, whether they're unusually bold, super sweet, or just kind of weird, can totally shift our impressions of someone. A single unexpected emoji or a super formal greeting can either pull you in or push you away. The theory explains why those little moments matter way more than we think.
Right, and then after that, we look closer at how relationships actually develop online. Social information processing theory shows that even though people communicate digitally with fewer cues, they still form meaningful impressions. It just happens differently, slower at first, but then sometimes even more intensely than in face-to-face interactions, because people curate what they want to share.
And speaking of sharing, we also talked about self-disclosure, how much you reveal, how fast you reveal it, and how personal it can become or completely change the trajectory of that online relationship you might have been looking for. Some people open up right away, others take weeks or months, and sometimes the vibe online doesn't match the vibe when you finally meet someone in person, something most of us have experienced at least once.
Yep, the shift from online to offline is where things can get complicated. All the carefully crafted impressions, edited photos, and thoughtful messages collide with real-world chemistry. Sometimes it lines up perfectly, and sometimes it's like meeting a totally different person. And the theories really help explain why this happens.
Exactly. These theories don't just explain online dating, they explain us. They show how we manage expectations, how we make judgments, and how we try to connect with each other, even through screens. And honestly, understanding this stuff kind of makes the chaos of dating apps feel a little less random.
So if today's episode made you think differently about your own digital interactions, whether you're actively swiping or just curious, that's the goal. We want to connect theory with real life and make sense of the communication patterns that we're all a part of.
Thanks for sticking with us through everything today.
Thanks for listening to our first and last podcast episode.